Hello, it is Friday, January 7th, 2022. I'm Chris Remo, and welcome back to the New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. It's a Friday puzzle today, of course, the first Friday puzzle of 2022. Does that mean it's the first Themeless puzzle of 2022? What was the first day of Nope, it wasn't. The first day of the week was a Saturday. First day of the year was a Saturday. Boy, really can't stop getting discombobulated when it comes to dates and days recently. Anyway, it is our first Friday puzzle of 2022, and I suppose that means it's the last first weekly instance of the year. Anyway, boy, let's move on from this nonsense. This edition of the Daily Solve is brought to you by actually two new benefactors of the Daily Solve Patreon campaign, B.W. Diedrich and Alex, as well as always, the inestimable Hood Monster. So thank you to all three of them, benefactors of the Daily Solve Patreon campaign. And as benefactors, they will be receiving the mug, Daily Solve Let's Check the Crosses mug. So very exciting for them, I'm sure. And thank you to everybody who has backed the Daily Solve Patreon campaign at any level. I very much appreciate it. And I'm planning to do some more bonus solves today. Certainly at least do the mini puzzle speed solve. And of course, there's the monthly New York Times bonus puzzle. So maybe I'll do that today as well. Anyway, there were very few corrections on yesterday's video, which is somewhat remarkable. I didn't seem to spread a lot of blather and nonsense on yesterday's puzzle. A minor correction from Tamar Dolev, who explains that the name I incorrectly pronounced as Isla Fisher, Isla should be pronounced Isla. So sort of like the Scottish region of Isla, and but spelled differently. And there were a number of comments about the puzzle itself, about the theme, and I was pleased to see that many of you enjoyed the theme just as much as I did, despite the perhaps somewhat understandable frustration around rebuses that many seem to have. Yesterday's puzzle seemed like it went over quite well. And then since I don't have any other corrections to share, I'll share a fun little thread from Blue G, who said, "That was a fun theme. I wonder what the collective noun for crossword solvers would be," referencing the theme around collective nouns in yesterday's puzzle. And Yakushi replied, "A rebus." So a rebus of crossword solvers. I think that's great. That's got to be the winning answer. And looks like Kathleen Quinn agreed. Piet Dijkstra cleverly said, "A Wii," playing on the increasing prevalence of the Wii, W-I-I, Nintendo video game console that keeps showing up in the crossword recently. And of course also the collective first-person pronoun. Anyway, let's get on to the crossword itself. Sorry. This, in addition to being the first Friday puzzle of the new year, it's the first crossword by Robin Weintraub of the new year. Robin Weintraub, known as often the Queen of the Friday, a very accomplished New York Times Themeless crossword constructor. And the puzzle was, of course, edited, as always, by Will Shorts. So let's get going. That's about it. That was a snappy introduction today, I suppose. Something you may want to clear up. Well, you could clear the air. You wouldn't clear up the air. You could clear up a mess or a misunderstanding or something. I'm not sure. Othello, for one, it could be a role or a game, actually. Yeah, it could be either of those. Or it could be a play, although I think if it were a play, it would be italicized or in quotation marks or something like that. Loses sheen, perhaps. Could be dulls. Let's try that. I've had a number of... oh, yeah. Sorry, here we go. I was going to say, I've gone through a few clues where there were several possible answers, which is also true, I think, here, but let's just try one and see. Anyway, blank vide culinary technique. This is sous vide, the culinary technique by which you cook a food in a vacuum-sealed bag in relatively low temperature. You cook it at the temperature to which you want the food to rise, rather than ordinarily in an oven, you would cook it at a higher temperature to raise the temperature of the food quickly. Sous vide cooks slowly. Biblical pronoun. Maybe this isn't dolls after all. C37 across. 37 across says with 11 down kids' party activity. And then here we have kake blank Japanese dish. So another culinary clue. And here we have wake up sleepyhead. I'm going to delete dolls. I'm not really very confident, but I am quite confident about sous vide. So maybe let's look at the crosses on that. ID seen at the post office. Well, ID suggests that this is going to be abbreviated or contracted in some way. So it could be something that ends with number. I don't know, SSN number, social security number. Would you use that at the post office for some reason? Don't really think so. But I did just happen to notice 17 across, Nobel winner Morrison is going to be Toni Morrison. So let's just put that in. So ID seen at the post office. I don't know. Biblical pronoun. Thou or thee. Not really sure. And here we have dressing room encouragement. Not very many words end in the letter U, so it could be the word U. Not really sure. Not off to a stellar start on this puzzle so far. Let's check the crosses on Toni. Story that goes over your head. Story. Could it be so we have the question mark here, so the pun or wordplay indicator. Could it mean a story of a building, a floor of a building that goes over your head? And here we have one constantly craving kisses. And it was not my intention to make anyone upset, often. A non-apology, I bet. In other words, you're not so much apologizing for your own actions, but simply expressing your regret that the other person reacted the way they did. CNN's Burnett. Oh, it kind of rings a bell, but I'm not sure offhand. Something you want to clear up with an N could be acne. You could want to clear up your acne. Oh, is it Aaron Burnett? Sort of sounds familiar. I mean, it's very plausible with the crosses. And one of the Aesir. Is that Nordic gods? Is this Thor? And a story that goes over your head. Ah, it is a floor of a building. So my instinct on that was correct. So an attic, I would say. All right, here we go. We found our break-in. I thought it was going to be sous vide. Turns out it was Toni Morrison. Thanks, Toni. One constantly craving kisses. A chocoholic? Hershey's Kisses. So kisses are, there's a question mark again. So there's some sort of wordplay going on here. And even though kisses is not capitalized, I think because of the question mark, we might be able to plausibly extend that to referring to a brand name, Hershey's Kisses, which is a little chocolate, which actually can't really find those in the UK, Hershey's is an American chocolate company, and they do sort of sell some chocolate in the UK, but not very much. And they don't really sell Hershey Kisses. Which I know because they're used to make these peanut butter cookies I really like. But it turns out I much prefer Cadbury's chocolate anyway, and you can just get their little squares, and that's fine. You can bet on it. You can bet on it, and there's an exclamation point. So when you see the exclamation point, it can mean a couple of things, but often what it means is rather than being a strict synonym or replacement for the word in the clue, or the phrase in the clue, I should say, it's describing the thing. It's something you would say about the answer rather than something that is equivalent to the answer. That said, I'm not sure what this is offhand, but it's probably some kind of, it's something you would bet on, which is obvious because that's what it says in the clue, but I'm not sure what the answer is offhand. Stop trying to help could be I can do it. Oops. Substance could be the meat or the gist, perhaps, of an idea. Not really sure. What was this again? Othello. Well, if this were meat, the substance, for instance, the meat of an idea, the substance of an idea, Othello could indeed be a game. That game played on a square board with the little black and white discs. Uncovered. Could be open, perhaps. Scavenger hunt, cry, go. Not sure. Scavenger hunt, what would one cry at a scavenger hunt? You'd yell something at a scavenger hunt? I mean, that would go, if it began with go, that would work with open here. A little sucker. Oh, could be an aphid, perhaps, a little insect. Does that work? And that actually, yeah, that still would work with, maybe I should go ahead and put open in here. And then we have a towering figure in the Two Towers. So the Two Towers is the Tolkien novel, an Ent, the big tree creatures, I'm pretty sure. And a dressing room encouragement. That or what? What looks less likely with scavenger hunt cry? That is so. Oh, that's so you. This is fun. I feel as though this is sort of characteristic of Robin Weintraub's styles. We get these. I mean, fun is such a goofy word to use, but I do think she has a tendency towards these long-ish answers that are fun exclamations or interesting, just sort of interesting phrases and concepts from language and culture. Non-apology, chocoholic, that's so you. Things that are recognizable, but you wouldn't expect something like that's so you to show up in the crossword all the time because it's long. There are quite a few letters. It's sort of an unusual collection of words in some ways, but it's also not obscure or obtuse particularly, and it's sort of fun to stumble on. And I think those things are characteristic of this constructor. Scavenger hunt cry. Go to it. Go. Sorry, I'm probably missing a very obvious exclamation here. Purpose. One's aim or goal. End. Yes. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Just had to cycle through some synonyms there. So the ends justify the means. The purpose, for instance, justify the means. Scavenger hunt cry. Go tone. Got one. Sorry. Okay, I was really making this much more difficult for myself than I should have been because I kept interpreting this as a cry. So I was imagining someone shouting something out, crying something out to begin the scavenger hunt, saying, go find it or whatever. But that's not at all what this was. This was the cry of someone who's found an item in the scavenger hunt, yelling, got one. So there we go. I was on the wrong track entirely, and I was stuck in that rut and didn't crawl out of it. Okay, so what is this? Ports, e.g. Dessert wines. So my first thought, unsurprisingly, was ports as a maritime port, shipping port. That's that meaning of the word port. But it occurred to me this is probably too long of an answer to be that. I mean, I'm sure you could come up with a synonym of port in that space, but more likely I thought it would be the wine, the dessert wine, as it turns out it is, I think, anyway. And, you can bet on it. The house, you can bet on the house. The house always wins, as they say, or at least the odds are considerably in the house's favor at a casino. And so this is the point I was making about the exclamation point. You can bet on it. You can't replace you can bet on it with the word house, obviously. It doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't say, oh, well, the you can bet on it always wins. Whereas you can say, I'm going to sample some ports. I'm going to sample some dessert wines. It's a direct substitution, and generally a clue and an answer will be direct substitution. Well, okay, this is a bad example. Scavenger hunt cry. One of the other exceptions is in spoken phrases. Often those are not direct substitutions, but most clues are. A little sucker, an aphid. Those are direct substitutions in a sentence. But the exclamation point usually indicates it won't be. So this is describing the house rather than substituting for it. Metaphorical knowledge. Metaphorical knowledge. And then here we have numbers not meant to be shared. So this will be numbers as in a sung number, a song, a musical number is what I should say. Solos. Not meant to be shared because they're only sung by one singer. And organization for Carl Sagan. Was Carl Sagan associated with SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence? I'm guessing he was, based on the number of crosses. So Carl Sagan, obviously the famous astronomer and television personality, and SETI, an organization that searches for signs of intelligent life in the universe, off of Earth, that is. Secretly unionize. Elope. So here we have another question mark, pun indicator. To secretly form a union, to secretly wed or marry is to elope. So what is this? Metaphorical knowledge. Maybe, is house wrong? Let's keep getting some crosses and see if this either reveals itself or confirms my mistake. Peter Pan Princess, Tiger Lily, I think. And Look that might freeze you in your tracks, an icy stare. So what is this? Metaphorical knowledge. Look at this. You can bet on it is not the house, but a horse. I mean, the explanation is exactly the same. It's describing something on which you can bet. You could place a bet on a horse. But, and I guess you don't really bet on the house. So I was wrong about that. I mean, the house bets on itself, I suppose. I guess I don't know that. Yeah, you wouldn't have another person at the casino betting on the house. I don't know. I guess I just sort of conflated those things. But that's so funny that worked out that way and really put me on the wrong track. But anyway, my explanation about the exclamation point holds, I suppose. But that was funny little thing. Anyway, metaphorical knowledge is the ropes. You'll show someone the ropes at a new job, for instance. Rapper, producer who won the 2018 Pulitzer for Music. Kendrick Lamar. And subject of international treaties, WMD, weapons of mass destruction, like the SALT treaties, for instance. And that's odd, could be weird. And speedy sci-fi technology. Warp drive from Star Trek, perhaps? And Eric, who wrote The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Oh, I had this book when I was a very young child, but I cannot remember the name of the author. Surprisingly, from that age, I don't. Pathetic, I don't know, wormy. I don't know why that came to mind. Maybe because there's a W right here, but probably there are other things it could be. Eva Perón was one. And it's an abbreviation. We should take note of that. And substitute for legal tender. Oh, it could be scrip. So legal tender obviously is money issued by a central bank that can be used anywhere in a given polity or country, whereas scrip is, I think scrip was most famous in the company towns of the late 19th and early 20th century. Big corporations would have company towns entirely dedicated to their employees, and their employees would live there and they would have everything paid for, but they were also essentially in thrall to the company in the sense that they would be paid in this scrip that they could only spend at the company store. And so even though in some ways they had considerable employment benefits, their actual practical freedom in life was severely constrained because they were living within the confines of the lifestyle the company had essentially defined, and that was eventually the labor reforms essentially outlawed that practice. Anyway, that's what I know scrip from most often, but you could have other forms of scrip, I suppose. Accounting job, a counting job. So the question mark is probably calling attention to the fact that this sounds like accounting, but in fact is separate words. A counting job. So what kind of job? What is a task or a job involving counting? I don't know. It should be obvious probably, but I'm not immediately see it. Could this be udon, maybe, the Japanese dish? I don't know. That just popped to mind, but I'm not sure. Oh, that actually, weirdly, that would fit with dolls. Let's try dolls again and see if now that we have that so you, it opens up any other options. 37 across says, with 11 down, kids' party activity. I don't know. And a biblical pronoun. Well, although now that we have an O there, thou, which was one of the more obvious biblical pronouns, would fit. So what about this? ID seen at the post office. I'm sorry, this corner is for some reason quite confounding to me. I apologize if you're seeing all sorts of answers up here that I'm not. That I'm not. Let's just move on, and we'll eventually get some crosses that will point back up. Maybe this wake up sleepyhead. Accomplice in Romeo and Juliet. Oh, I bet if I had one more cross, that would be a lot easier. Broadway show where everyone knows the ending. I don't know what, Jesus Christ Superstar or something, which I've never actually seen, but I assume I would know what the ending is. Country named for a now banned trade. Also, this Broadway show where everyone knows the ending has a question mark at the end, so presumably it's something punnier than simply what I just guessed. Country named for a noun. Oh, a noun being trained, the Ivory Coast. Obviously referencing ivory from elephants. They can be felt. I wonder if this is suggesting an object, probably an article of clothing that can be made out of felt, as opposed to something that can be sensed or perceived. Lashes, makeup. So this could be either the things that comprise lashes or makeup that's put on lashes, or it could mean lashes as in whips, perhaps? Does it end with an S? It probably does, because this also says they can be felt. And here we have martini option. You could have a dirty martini with a bit of olive juice. That's always nice. And gets by. Does okay, maybe? If you get by, you do okay. Out of Africa authored, I'm probably going to pronounce his name wrong, Dynison or Denison. I think Isaac, I'm remembering correctly. Letter in the Greek spelling of Athens. Oh, interesting. I don't know, alpha or omega, probably. Looks like a jerk. Probably ends with an S. Little drones could be ants, drone ants. Driver in House of Gucci, Adam Driver. I really enjoyed Adam Driver in House of Gucci. That was an extremely ridiculous movie, but I had fun. Cause of weakness, anemia, perhaps. You're low on iron, I think, is a common form of anemia. Oops, anemia, not amemia. Amemia sounds like a horrible internet disease. Okay, canceled, null, perhaps? No, probably not with those crosses. Book after 2 Chronicles. Is Esau a book in the Bible? Strategic bodies of water. No, I don't think that's right, because strategic bodies of water are probably moats. They're used strategically for defensive purposes, of course. Canceled. No. What he and don't do. Oh, they don't agree. That's a clever clue. So they don't agree grammatically in the sense that he and don't, you'd say he and doesn't, or they and do. Well, I shouldn't say doesn't, but does. He does, they do. He and do don't agree grammatically. Although obviously they are often combined in certain idiomatic or dialectic American speech. Canceled. Oh, no go, perhaps. That's been canceled. That's canceled. That's no go. Ezra, book after 2 Chronicles, looks right. And a romantic bunch is a dozen roses. Air France confirmation. Oui, I suppose. So Air France is an airline, but I think in this clue, it's simply serving to indicate that the answer will be in the French language. So you might hear someone say oui for yes on Air France. Biblical preposition unto. That's a nice little echo of the biblical pronoun thou, if indeed it is thou, in that confounding corner. Figures assigned randomly since 2011. Social security numbers. That's interesting. Were they assigned sequentially previously? I'm pretty sure that social security numbers, the prefix, or at least I believe the prefix of the social security number, at least traditionally, was a geographical indicator based on where it was issued. But I don't know if that is still true or if that's now random as well. I don't know. I'll have to look this up. Letter in the Greek spelling of Athens. Oh, theta, probably. What babe aspires to be in Babe? Boy, I actually haven't seen the film Babe since probably pretty soon after the release of the film Babe. A sheepdog. Actually, wow, I can't believe I remember that. But yeah, I think Babe wants to be a sheepdog. And of course, that was the whole point of the film. And then Babe learns how to drive sheep. Bon blanc, high society in French. And a reminder that when you see a language abbreviated like this, such as FR for French, that doesn't indicate that the answer is an abbreviation. That's just a convention. Languages are often abbreviated in crossword clues for whatever reason, to save space, I suppose. But I actually don't know the answer to this, annoyingly. Friendly introduction with a question mark. So another pun or bit of wordplay. friendly introduction. Act friendly? The word act, it might introduce the word friendly? That doesn't really seem very plausible. Looks like a jerk. Not really sure. What about this? Animal also known as a catamount. A puma? Terpsichore or calliope? Oh, those are muses in myth. And blank mountains range crossed on the Trans-Siberian Railway, the Ural Mountains. I'm pretty confident about that. And looks, oh, I see. Oh, very clever. Looks like a jerk. So this appears to be, looks like a jerk. In other words, seems to be a jerk or presents as a jerk. But in fact, what it means is looks in the manner of a jerk. So the way you're looking, the way you are staring is the way a jerk stares. Ogling. That's a very clever clue. Oh, friendly introduction is eco-friendly. I see. Yes. So I was correct in the sense that this is a prefix, well, well, I didn't have it as a prefix, but something that can come before the word friendly, but I went in a stranger direction. Eco-friendly, certainly a common phrase. So that's the answer. And what is this? Broadway show, Broadway show where everyone knows the ending. Oh, a limited run. There we go. Everyone knows the ending date of this Broadway production because it is only a limited run. And here we have a simple, oh, I don't think I saw this. A simple matter of probability. I should have looked at this earlier. It would have given me a bunch of crosses. A coin flip, 50-50, simple chance. They can be felt. Oh, felt pens. There we go. So I was trying to imagine a garment or other object made out of felt. I suppose this is an object partially made out of felt, but a felt pen, a pen with a felt tip. And kids' party activity. Lemon something? Is there a party activity that's lemon something? Oh. Is this Friar? I thought this would be obvious, but it's not to me, this Romeo and Juliet character. Lashes, makeup, and I was thinking maybe originally that would be cilia because eyelashes are cilia, the anatomical term. Wake up, sleepyhead. Oh, rise and shine. Again, another great themeless puzzle entry. Just a long phrase that's quite straightforward. Oh, Simon Says, of course. What was I? Yeah, okay. And lashes make up our hairs. And then this, okay, it is Friar. Okay, great. So accomplice in Romeo and Juliet, Friar. Lashes make up hairs. They're, I guess, little hairs, technically, I suppose. And what was, sorry, oh, right. Simon Says is the kids' party activity. Okay, great. I didn't really think of that as a party activity per se, but I suppose it is or could be. Loses sheen, perhaps. Ah, rusts. There we go. There we go. Wow, funny. It does still have a U in the second position. And perhaps this is indeed kake udon after all. Look at that. ID seen at the post. Oh, very clever. Very clever. Boy, and I completely missed this. So ID seen at the post office is not form of identification, but it is still an abbreviation. But it's a contraction of the U.S. state of Idaho. Oh boy, I didn't even have an inkling about that. And it makes sense that it would be at the post office specifically. I really couldn't think of any forms of identification that were particular to the post office. But of course, in addressing a letter, you might put a state abbreviation on it, such as Idaho. So that is kake udon. And then, oh, accounting job is the census. Yes, of course, the census. Here in the UK, actually, just this week, we had the 1921 census released. In the UK, full census data is released 1 century after it was collected. And so this week was the, or at least this week seems to be when people are reporting on it anyway, release of data from the 1921 census, which is incredibly fascinating and has all kinds of really interesting demographic information from 100 years ago. Okay, so what is this? Pathetic. Right, so what did I say that could have been? I said wormy before. I don't know if that's anything. Drop the ball. Oh, no. Oh, probably sorry. And then drop the ball is to err, to make a mistake. And Eric Carle, who wrote The Very Hungry Caterpillar, never would have remembered that. But now that I see it, it actually is sort of familiar. So I think that's correct. And then what do we have here? Eva, oh, right. Eva Perón was one. Is Siorna, I suppose. S-R-A, and it is an abbreviation. And then pathetic is sorry. Does that? Yep, there it is. All right, that was a great. I really thought that was a very good themeless puzzle, and I would expect nothing less from Robin Weintraub. I really love these long answers and sort of long words like chocoholic, but also phrases. And I suppose chocoholic is, in a sense, a phrase as well as being a word in the sense that it's a portmanteau and a relatively recently created one historically. And non-apology, also fairly current phrase, I would say. Chocoholic, non-apology. What else did we have? Rise and shine. Dessert wines. Limited run. Ivory Coast. Just finding the long ones. Oh yeah, that's so you. Tiger lily, arguably. Sheepdog, dozen roses. Yeah, just really incredibly wide range of answers. Really, just nice distribution of letters. I don't know. It's just a very well constructed grid. Lots of different kinds of words. It feels sort of fresh again because we have a number of relatively current answers, but not things that feel as though they're so bleeding edge that they're going to become dated any day now. I really like this sort of thing for a themeless puzzle because without a theme, without something that gives us a shared bit of subject matter or mechanic to dig into, it's nice to have something that feels like the answers are kind of about something, even though they're all largely unconnected and arbitrary, at least from the perspective of the solver. And having, to me, you sort of get some of that when you get these long answers that deal with phrases, and when there's a bit of modernity in it. But obviously, then there are geography like Ivory Coast and things that are not don't really have any particular essentially timeless, like limited run, that doesn't really have any particular valence when it comes to an era. So it's just it's nice to have that range, and it's hard exactly for me to explain in a concise and clear way why I enjoy this sort of construction for a themeless puzzle, but I really do. And also, it's nice to be able to, when you have phrases like, I mean, I didn't get Rise and Shine very early, but you could imagine someone getting Rise and Shine pretty early in the way that I got, I think, non-apology fairly early on. It's nice to get a big, long phrase like that and then immediately have quite a few crosses to help build on. So that's nice as well, just in terms of the actual act of solving. Anyway, well done as always to Robin Weintraub. I really liked it. I hope you did as well. Do let me know how you fared with it in the comments. Boy, I seem to be getting increasingly absent-minded. I don't know what's going on with that. Well, that went relatively smoothly for a Friday. Why don't we do? I'll do the Wordle. Why not do the Wordle today? Oops, that was yesterday's. Sorry, I hope there wasn't maybe I'll cover that up so not to have spoiled it. Let me fix the window size. There we go. So here's Wordle. If you haven't, I've done one or two of these on the channel before. There's a new one every day, and I keep forgetting to do it some days. So my streak has been broken repeatedly. So I don't know what my stats will look like at the end of this. It probably won't be great. But this is a one-a-day word puzzle. I'll link it if I remember in the description field underneath the video. And it has sort of, it's become, as well as the New York Times crossword itself, it seems to have become the official pastime of the Daily Solve Discord chat server. So I ended up making a whole Wordle channel in the Discord chat server because it had somewhat colonized the other puzzles channel. And it seemed as though if people were going to be posting their Wordle results every single day, it might as well go in its own channel. So if you'd like to participate in that, you can join the Daily Solve Discord chat server. And of course, there's a link to that in the description field underneath the video. Patreon subscribers get an extra channel, but anyone can join for free. So let's see, how should I begin? I don't know. Let's do train. It's got two vowels, some common letters like RT and N seem fairly common. Let's see. Wow. I actually don't know that I've ever seen 5. So the way that Wordle works, if you're not familiar, the gray squares, the gray cells are letters that you're trying to guess a randomly selected word or effectively randomly selected. And when you put in a guess, each letter will be colored in such a way as to indicate that letter's presence or non-presence in the word. And gray means letter's not present at all. So let's see. What about, I don't know, posed? I'm just looking at I really like how the keyboard indicates the color of each letter, so you can just sort of look at what's still available. Let's try this. Wow, this is shocking. So this means that the P and the S are present in the word, but not in that position. So what vowels remain? U, and that's it. U is the only... Is that true? Yeah, U is the only remaining vowel. Interesting. Okay. I was going to say spurn, but that doesn't work. Spuds doesn't work. Wow. Sorry, this is catching me off guard, and it's actually stumping me much more than these usually do. Whoops. No. Wow, good Lord. This is more resistant than any Wordle I can remember recently. So the U is now green, which means the U is in the correct place. So there will be a U in the third position in this word. The S and P are present. I still haven't figured out the proper placement for either of them. So what about SPU? Boy, we don't have a lot of letters remaining, do we? Wow. Slump. Oh, actually, I bet this is it. Yep. Okay, there we go. Wow. All right. That was so yeah, I guess I'm on day 4 of remembering to do the Wordle. Slump. Wow. Interesting. Okay, that was probably the biggest journey I've taken from my first guess to the final word. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. That was Wordle today, and I hope you'll be back tomorrow for the Saturday puzzle, the second Saturday puzzle of the year. I'm going to stop saying that tomorrow. I can't keep saying that. It's ridiculous. But another Themeless anyway. Another Themeless, possibly more difficult than today's, and I hope you'll join me. But until that point, please do have an excellent remainder of your Friday. Take care.